Carlton House Terrace is a street in the St James's district of the City of Westminster in London. Its principal architectural feature is a pair of terraces of white stucco-faced houses on the south side of the street overlooking St James's Park. These terraces were built on Crown land between 1827 and 1832 to overall designs by John Nash, but with detailed input by other architects including Decimus Burton. They took the place of Carlton House, and the freehold still belongs to the Crown estate. History Background The land on which Carlton House Terrace was built had once been part of the grounds of St James's Palace, known as the Royal Garden, and the Wilderness. The latter was at one time in the possession of Prince Rupert of the Rhine, and was later called up as Spring Garden. From 1700 the land was held by Henry Boyle, who spent £2,835 on improving the existing house in the Royal Garden. Queen Anne issued letters patent granting Boyle a lease for a term of 31 years from November 2, 1709 at £35 per annum. Boyle was created Baron Carlton in 1714, and the property has been called after him since then, although at some point the E was dropped. On Carlton's death the lease passed to his nephew, the architect and aesthete Lord Burlington, and in January 1731 George II issued letters patent granting Burlington a reversionary lease for a further term of 40 years at an annual rent of £35. By an indenture dated February 23, 1732 the lease was assigned to Frederick, Prince of Wales, eldest son of George II, who predeceased his father, dying in 1751. His widow, Augusta, continued living in the house, making alterations and purchasing an adjoining property to enlarge the site. She died in 1772 and the house reverted to her son, George III. The property was granted by George III to his eldest son, George, Prince of Wales on the latter's coming of age in 1783. The prince spent enormous sums on improving and enlarging the property, running up huge debts. He was at loggerheads with his father, and the house became a rival court, and was the scene of a brilliant social life. When the prince became King George IV in 1820 he moved to Buckingham Palace. Instructions were given in 1826 to the Commissioners of Woods and Forests that Carlton Palace should be given up to the public, be demolished and the site and gardens laid out as building ground for dwelling houses of the first class. By 1829 the Commissioners reported that the site was completely cleared and that part of it had already been let on building leases. Materials from the demolition were sold by public auction, with some fixtures transferred to Windsor Castle and to the King's House, Pimlico. Columns of the portico were reused in the design for the new National Gallery in Trafalgar Square. Interior Ionic columns were moved to the conservatories of Buckingham Palace, and some of the armorial stained glass was incorporated in windows of Windsor Castle. Construction After Carlton House was demolished the development of its former site was originally intended to be part of a scheme for improving St James's Park. For this John Nash proposed 3 terraces of houses along the north of the park, balanced by 3 along the south side, overlooking Birdcage Walk. None of the 3 southern terraces and only 2 of the 3 northern ones were built, the latter being the west and east sections of Carlton House Terrace. These 2 blocks were designed by Nash, with James Pennethorne in charge of the construction. Nash planned to link the 2 blocks with a large domed fountain between them, but the idea was vetoed by the king. The present-day Duke of York steps took the place of the fountain. In 1834 the Duke of York's column was erected at the top of the steps. It consists of a granite column designed by Benjamin Wyatt topped with a bronze statue by Richard Westmacott of Frederick, Duke of York. The terraces, which are 4 stories in height above a basement, were designed in a classical style, stucco-clad, with a Corinthian columned four-section aid overlooking St James's Park, surmounted by an elaborate frieze and pediment. At the south side, facing the park, the lower frontage has a series of squat Doric columns, supporting a substantial podium terrace at a level between the street entrances to the north and the ground floor level of the modern Mall. The houses are unusual among expensive London terraces in having no mews to the rear. The reason for this was that Nash wanted the houses to make the best possible use of the view of the park, and also to present an attractive four-section aid to the park. The service accommodation was placed underneath the podium and in 2 stories of basements. According to the architectural historian Sir John Summerson, Nash's designs were inspired by Anne Jacques Gabriel's buildings in the Place de la Concorde, Paris. Summerson's praise of the buildings is muted. The central pediments are a somewhat too contrived means of preventing an apparent sag in a very long 4-section aid, and the attics on the end pavilions may be over-emphatic. Subtlety of modelling there is none. In fact, Carlton House Terrace is thoroughly typical of the extraordinary old man who designed it, but whose only contribution to the work was probably the provision of a few small sketches, done either in the glorious painted gallery of his Regent Street mansion or the flower-scented luxury of his castle in the Isle of Wight. The authors of the Survey of London take a more favourable view. The houses form a double group each side of the Duke of York's column. Designed as an architectural entity, facing the park, they represent with their range of detached Corinthian columns, a pleasing example of comprehensive street architecture. An effect greatly enhanced by the freshness of their 4-section adders. The end house to each block is carried up above the roof of the main 4-section aid, thereby effecting a successful pavilion treatment. The return fronts of the houses facing the steps are also effectively treated in a complementary manner. Although Nash delegated the supervision of building to Pennethorne, he kept the letting of the sites firmly in his own hands. Ground rents, payable to the Crown, was set at the high rate of 4 guineas per foot frontage. Nash himself took leases of 5 sites nos 11 €15, intending to let them on the open market at a substantial profit. In the event he could not cover his total costs and made a small loss on the transactions. Later history. In the 20th century the terrace came under threat of partial or complete demolition and redevelopment. By the 1930s there was little demand for large central London houses, and the commissioners of Crown lands were having difficulty in letting the properties. 2 properties were let to clubs, No 1 to the Savage Club and No 16 to Crockford's Gambling Club, but residential tenants became hard to find. Proposals for redevelopment were put forward by the architect Sir Reginald Blomfield, who had earlier been one of those responsible for replacing Nash's Regent Street buildings with larger structures in the Edwardian neo-classical style. Blomfield proposed rebuilding in a manner suitable for hotels, large company offices, flats and similar purposes. The suggested new buildings were to be 2 stories higher than Nash's houses, and there was an outcry that persuaded the commissioners not to proceed with the scheme. The terrace was severely damaged by German bombing during the Second World War. In the 1950s the British government considered acquiring the terrace as the site for a new Foreign Office headquarters. The Nash 4-section adders were to be preserved, but it was widely felt that the height of the redevelopment behind them would be unacceptable. Occupants. The terrace has had several famous residents including, Lord Palmerston, at No. 5 from 1840 €46. Earl Grey, at No. 13 from 1851 €57 and again from 1859 €80. William Ewart Gladstone, at No. 4 in 1856 and No. 11 from 1857 €75. Lord Curzon, at No. 1 from 1905 €25. 2nd Baron Revelstoke, at No. 3 from 1904 €29. Joachim von Ribbentrop, at Nos 8 and 9 from 1936 €38. Ashraf Marwan, died after somehow falling from his flat in the terrace, somehow. MI6's Section Y was housed in No. 3, Carlton Gardens after WW2 for an undisclosed time. This department, headed by Colonel Tom Grimson, analyzed wiretap information and compared it with information from other sources. The British traitor George Blake was his deputy, and was brought here for interrogation after his capture in 1961. Most of the houses are now occupied by businesses, institutes and learned societies. No. 1 is the headquarters of the Institute of Materials, Minerals and Mining. No. 2 houses the Royal College of Pathologists. As of 2014, it is being marketed by the Crown Estate. No. 3 €4 houses the Royal Academy of Engineering, No. 5 houses the Turf Club, No. 6 €9 are now the home of the Royal Society, No. 10 €11 houses the British Academy, Numbers 13 to 15 are privately owned by the four Hinduja brothers, industrialists from India. Number 16 is privately owned by the Alensky household. Number 12 is the Institute of Contemporary Arts, which also occupies much of the basement of the East Terrace. Number 17 is home to the Federation of British Artists and the Mall Galleries. The Crown Estate had its headquarters in four houses in the terrace for many years, but in 2006 the organisation moved to New Burlington Place, an alleyway off Regent Street, which is also part of the Crown Estate. In 2006 the Hinduja family purchased the vacated property for £58 million. Carlton Gardens. At the west end of the Carlton House Terrace is a cul-de-sac called Carlton Gardens, which was developed at around the same time. It contained 7 large houses. Lord Kitchener once lived at number 2 and number 4 was home to Lord Palmerston for a time and later served as Charles de Gaulle's headquarters during the Second World War. All the houses except Nos 1 and 2 have been replaced by office blocks. Number 1 is an official ministerial residence normally used by the Foreign Secretary. Number 2 is used by the Privy Council Office. Notes and references. Notes. The location is shown as Charlton House in Rock's 1746 map of London. Nash's plans included the demolition of Marlborough House to the west, replacing it with a third terrace. This idea was reflected in some contemporary maps, including Christopher and John Greenwood's large-scale London map of 1830, but this proposal was not implemented. References. A. B. Pithers, pages 1, ABCD Chapter 8, Carlton House, Survey of London, Volume 20, St Martin in the Fields, pt 3, Trafalgar Square and Neighbourhood, British History Online, Access September 2, 2013, Regent Street, Carlton Place Act 1826, A. B. Pithers, pages 2, MOTCO a Euro Image Database, ABCD Pithers, pages 3, Bullis al., pages 240, AB Chapter 9, Carlton House Terrace and Carlton Gardens, Survey of London, Volume 20, St Martin in the Fields, pt 3, Trafalgar Square and Neighbourhood, British History Online, Access September 2, 2013, Summerson, quoted in Pithers, pages 3, Carlton House Terrace, The Times, December 16, 1932, pages 10, The Crown Landlord, The Times, December 19, 1932, pages 13, No FO. At Carlton House Terrace, The Times, December 2, 1960, pages 14, History of 6 a Euro 9 Carlton House Terrace, Sial, Raif. Yard probes billionaire spy's death. London, The Observer. Retrieved October 5, 2008. MI6, by Stephen Dorrell, mansion just a stone's throw from Buckingham Palace goes on sale for £75 million. Daily Mail. AB Hindujas purchase Carlton House from Crown Estate, Nelson, Dean and Morris Chittenden. Hindujas to build palace on the Mall, The Sunday Times, August 27, 2006, Hansard, House of Commons written replies to questions, May 6, 2009, column 165W. It was announced on May 17, 2010, that the Foreign Secretary, William Hague, would be taking up residence in Carlton House Terrace. Contacting the Privy Council Office. Sources, Bullis, Claire. Ronald Esprit. Dennis Gilbert. The Statues of London. London, Perseus. ISBN 1858944724. Pithers, Margaret. A Short History of 13 a Euro 16 Carlton House Terrace. London, The Crown Estate. External links, The Royal Society, Homes of the Society with Architectural History and List of known tenants of numbers 6 a Euro 9. 10 to 11 Carlton House Terrace, site for the venue, including history of the building.